Well, good morning. I'm Erin Carlson, Chair of the Chamber's Workforce Development Committee. Our vision for this committee and for this series is to inspire meaningful partnerships for employers and academic institutions centered on growing and retaining talent in Tampa Bay. Before we introduce today's speaker, I'd like to invite our sponsors to say a few words. Please join me in welcoming Bob Hyde, Vice President of Risk Management at Suncoast Credit Union, and also Dr. Brian Mann, Associate Vice President, Associate in Science Programs at Hillsborough Community College. Bob, I'll turn it over to you first.
Great. Well, thank you, Erin, and good morning to everybody. If you can give me just about 90 seconds, I have 3 points that I'd like to make. First and foremost, thank you. We at Suncoast Credit Union are absolutely thrilled and honored to once again sponsor the Work Redefined series, especially so because it hits a theme that is near and dear to our hearts, which is community impact. Speaking of community impact, my second point, the Suncoast Credit Union Foundation was established in 1990. So yes, the foundation is turning 21 years old this year. And since then, our foundation has donated more than $32 million to organizations and initiatives that support the health, education, and emotional well-being of children in the community we serve. In 2020 alone, due to the elevated need based on the pandemic, we donated $2 million to a variety of charitable organizations. And lastly, culture. Suncoast has more than 1,900 employees who come to work each and every day to serve over 920,000 members throughout Florida. And like you all, we recognize the vital importance of developing our talent, supporting our workforce, and creating an authentic company culture built around service. Thank you again so much for being here and for being leaders in helping develop a skilled, valued, and contributing workforce across Tampa Bay.
Thank you, Bob. And I'll turn it over to Brian Mann with Hillsborough Community College.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity. Let me start by saying that HCC is proud to be co-sponsoring this event, has been a proud sponsor of the Tampa Bay Chamber for many years. As you all know, HCC is open for business and offering all our courses and programs through face-to-face, fully online, and hybrid course offerings. For our face-to-face course options, we adhere to the CDC recommended guidelines to the best we can to ensure a safe learning environment. So if you know of any friends or family or even yourself are thinking about going back for a degree or a workforce related certificate with all the options available, it's actually a great time to do so. So thank you. I'm glad to be here this morning. I'm looking forward to the presentation and I hope you do as well. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Brian and Bob. We appreciate Suncoast Credit Union and Hillsborough Community College's support. Today, we'll be examining economic impact forecasts from a global, regional, state, and local perspective. This data can assist your organization, hopefully, with developing a workforce strategy that aligns with economic impact forecasts. As we all know, that's really important in today's economic climate. If you have a question for our speaker today, please use the chat feature. We'll do our best to get through all of them. We should have some time at the end to respond to questions. And now I'm going to introduce our speaker. Dr. Albert Williams is the Associate Professor of Finance and Economics at Nova Southeastern University. Over the past 10 years, he's been facilitating MBA courses in managerial economics, managerial finance, international finance, and managerial statistics. Please join me in welcoming our speaker for today, Dr. Albert Williams.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Tampa. Good morning, the whole west coast of Florida. I'd love to see all of you out there. And we are in for a treat today. We'll take a journey of economics. And I think that this will be a wonderful 1 hour or so journey. So first of all, let me put up my slides. I'm going to share them with you. And then we're going to talk a little bit. So, I started at the back. That's normal for professors. We work to the end. We never quit. This is the slide I want you to see. All right, so give me a thumbs up, somebody, if you can see the slide. I think you can, right? Erin, you can. Very nice. Okay, so as Erin said, I'm going to give you a global picture. Very quickly, we're going to get back down to the Tampa region. So here is who I am. And I'm the chair and the associate professor of finance and economics. I've been at Huizenga College for quite a few years now. I love it. And there's a reason, because it is a school where we do use applied information and teach students how to actually apply the stuff. So this is my story. I'm going to give you a world view very quickly, a US view, a Florida view, Tampa view. I call it Tampa, but I mean the region. Then I'm just going to summarize the forecast. Then I'm going to spend some time with the workforce forecasting that links with these. And then the Q&A, but I like the Q&A to be within. So if you have a question, the host can just stop me. Dr. Williams, we have a question, and I would answer it if it's relevant to at that point. All right, so here we go. This is welcome. I want to thank you for being here on behalf of my wonderful university, and I want the chamber, the Tampa Bay Chamber. I am very pleased to be here to share a little bit of what I've learned. And many times economists think they know a lot, but I can assure you the world is much bigger than we are. But I will share some things with you. My background, I'm originally from Belize. I may not look that way, but that's usually a little joke I like to say. I'm from Belize, of Indian ancestry. I did my bachelor's in mathematics in Calgary, Canada. I did my master's in agriculture and applied business at the University of Georgia. Sorry, I know we have competition, but I'm a Georgia guy. And I did my PhD in applied economics and finance also at Georgia. I held a lot of positions in Belize, economist, banker, CEO of a marketing company. When I was in Miami, I was an analyst at Burger King. I saw how billion-dollar decisions were made. And then I found myself back in academia, and now I'm teaching. So that's who I am. And I love to bring all those real-life examples into the classroom, and students like it. All right. So, but before I get into this thing, I have another thing that I do in the classroom, and I'm going to share it with you. It's going to take 2 minutes, and I think you will like it. So let me just do a little something here that's probably out of the ordinary. But I think it's going to change the view of how you see the world. So just a minute. I tend to be very creative. And so here we go. I'm going to play my guitar for you. I hope you like that. I see some of you saying a good jamming session for the morning. It'll wake you up. You waked me up too. So I hope you enjoyed it. A little reggae with rock and roll mixed in. It doesn't get better than that. All right. Let's get started then. Let's get into the journey of economics. So here we go. My Tampa connection. My son did a bachelor's and a master's at the University of South Florida. I was up there this weekend. I love Tampa. I go there often. So I am very connected to Tampa. Now, here we go. World economic overview. The pandemic is the driving factor that has caused us to get into this tailspin. No other questions about it. The latest information I use is from the International Monetary Fund. Policy, support, and vaccines expected to lift activity, so the economy should get back. A year ago, the crisis was like no other, and an uncertain recovery. So keep that in mind, that we're leaning on the government. That's what policy support means. Vaccine, that's the medical support, and that's where we go. I threw this in because many times we don't understand how big the world is. $88 trillion world. The United States is about 21 trillion. So we're a quarter. Look at the size of that football. We're a big slice. China is the second one. All right, China is pretty big. Then you go in, by the way, the colors represent the continent. So if you look over here, Canada and Mexico are so minuscule compared to us when it comes to GDP size. Come over to China and Japan and India. Look at these 5 countries take up most of Asia. Europe, notice Germany, France, Italy, UK take up pretty much most of the GDP of Europe. The rest of the world is about 10%. Look at South America, Brazil, and of course, Argentina and Colombia, they probably run things in terms of size. Poor Venezuela used to be the biggest, one of the biggest, not anymore. Okay, so just keep in mind the context of the world we live in. Here's the challenge. We are so excited to have all these vaccines coming up. We are feeling good. By the way, I got my 2 shots and I'm feeling a little better going to school now. However, the challenge is that the new wave and the strains are coming. So you have positive and negative. We have to learn to deal with them, correct? The first statistic I want you to get is the world growth in this year is 5.5%. So that $88 trillion is expected to grow 5.5%. The following year, though, it slows down to 4.2%. All right. So the forecast is improving a little bit because of what we did over the last 6 months to get the vaccines ready for a lot of us. The strength of the recovery is based on how the countries of the world deal with it. I don't want you to think that if we do our immunity in the United States, this problem is solved. We got to get the other countries of the world involved. And so we have multilateral cooperation. India is shining now because it's making vaccines and giving it to all the countries of the world at a certain price. And I just read a report, the CEO of that company pumped in $800 million to try to get a head start. He calls it calculated risk. Who always suffers the most? The low-income countries. They don't have the income, so they have high debt. Some of them don't even have the money to buy the vaccine. Isn't that amazing? But we are very forgiving. The top countries are willing to restructure their debt. This is just the same data, but I want you to just concentrate on the ones I gave you. They take the whole world, and this is from the IMF, 5.5% this year. What I wanted you to see when I make these slides is look at all the countries of the world, developed countries, all negative this year. That's the kind of thing I want you to see. Then over here, hey, 21, they're all positives. And then 22, still positive, but not increasing. They're pretty stable. So look at the good old United States, 4.3, 3.1. Sorry, 5.1, 2.5. See that? So you go to the developing countries, they call them emerging markets, developing economies. They grow a little faster normally, 6.3 and then 5. But look at all of them. They were all negative just like it. So the pandemic hit all countries in the world negatively in 2020. We all expect to do a little better in 21 and of course in 22. Now, we always try to see how governments are doing. This is a picture, whenever you hear the word policy, economic policy, is what is government doing. And if you look at this graph over time, government has a very checkered record of confidence. But look at the tail end. Do you see the tail end? It is going upward. So we're not, I mean, jagged, but on average it's upward, saying that we are not confident of how the government is responding to this pandemic. That's the question. See the same story here, but this is now consumer confidence. This dark color here, this not the blue, this color says these countries with higher scores are more confident, and the blue is kind of neutral and so on. So the average for the world is a 98, which is smack in the middle. So confidence of the people, of the 7 billion people that live on Earth, is just half and a half. Some are more confident than others. And you notice the countries that are confident: US, Saudi Arabia, India, Australia to some degree, and a bunch of these islands here. UK mixed, Russia on the lower end, and so on. So global summary, straightforward. We expect a 5.5% growth, 4.2 the following year. The advanced countries always grew a little bit slower than the developing countries. Global policy uncertainty is high. We are not sure what governments are doing overall. They're not totally coordinated. And then, of course, global confidence for people is just kind of a little bit okay. We're doing okay. So people are starting to lose the fear of the pandemic to some degree. Let's come to a good old United States. And this is the picture that scared most of us over the last year. I'm moving this around. Look at the growth over time, all below 5%. Pandemic came, and look at that, minus 31. That should hit you in the gut. But look how it jumped right back up in the third quarter. It's just like a spring, a shock. It goes down and then it comes right back. And then the projection will be around 4 or 5%. So it's going to come back to normal. That's what I want you to get out of this picture. But so if you're an economist and you see a graph that looks like this, your first question is, what the heck happened here? That's how you look at that. Now, this is a very promising picture. I want all of you out there who have businesses to look at this picture. Income change for the end of the year. And in January, people started to what? Spend a bunch of money. Their incomes are going up. That tells you, if you're a business person, that if you see people making more income, you need to get ready. We have to see it for February too. All right, employment situation in January, we still have a 6.3% unemployed. I like you to remember that out of every 100 people, 6 or 7 of them are unemployed. That's the best way to see it. What's driving this? COVID. We had some gains, professional business services, but of course, you guys in Tampa noticed the leisure and hospitality and retail, healthcare, and the transportation and warehouse, those are all slowing, really slow. So you have gains, you got losses, so they balance off at this point in time. I like to throw in data, but I don't want you to get carried away with data too much because you don't remember them after 10 seconds. So we have 160 million people working, 150 million people have jobs as of the end of January. And this is the number you should remember, 10 million people out of work. And if every 2 people or 3 people depend on those, you got 30 million people suffering to some degree. That's the kind of thing I want you to get out of it. This is the picture that scared most of us. Unemployment rate in every recession, if you look at the dark spots, those are recessions. They're always up, And this one is crazy up. Look at this one that we thought was the worst recession 10 years ago. That's pale compared to what happened just last year. So this is considered an outlier. We should not be worried. We should be worried about it. Our lives got messed up, but we are not. We are hoping and praying it doesn't come back for another 100 years. I'm not sure, but I'm hoping. Inflation has never been a major concern. It's just upward slightly. We are at 2%, 3%. So do not get too worried about inflation. See how inflation is broken down here. Food is up. Energy is down and other things are a little bit up. So too little up and a little down gives me an average of about 1.4, 1.5%. So as an economist, I don't get crazy about inflation yet. The $1.9 trillion to come in, I'm not sure if that's enough to drive inflation up out of the roof. It could cause a little increase, but nothing to worry about. All right, treasury rates for 10 years, interest rates are rather low. And I know my colleague there at the credit union will see this. Interest rates are pretty low. This one, the exchange rate, is a very interesting chart. A lot of times people look at this chart and don't understand it. I'm giving up more dollars to get £1. So the dollar gets weaker and the pound gets stronger. Think about what I just said. Here, you're giving up less dollars, so the dollar gets stronger. So the latest data is that you're giving up more dollars to get a pound. In this case, it's a euro. You get a euro, so the dollar is depreciating and the euro is appreciating. Is that good or bad? Well, it's good to some degree because then our exports become cheaper. All right? Foreigners could shop here more often when our dollar is a little bit weaker. This is the one that we don't like. Imports are always greater than exports for years. And look, it's kind of funny. We went through a pandemic and guess what happened? We start importing more again. Isn't that amazing? So our import bill is always bigger. By the way, the deficit is nearly $600 billion. It's right up on the top here. We are $700 billion deficit. So we Americans love imported goods. I like to tease. Every one of you watching me today is an international person because you have something international on you right now in your house, in your body, or something is international. So we like foreign stuff. Confidence is the one. I love the conference board. Look here, all these positives. I looked at this number a year ago. These were negative numbers. CEOs are positive. Consumers are confident. The indicators are showing positive sign, and even the global confidence is up. So what am I trying to give you? A picture that is more optimistic. This one is the index of government policy in the United States. It went crazy for a while, and I'm not going to go into politics. And then from there, it's kind of going down now. So saying that we're a little more confident with what the government is trying to do. All right, so the US, 5.1 this year, and then it goes to 2.5. Half of you in this place will ask me, why the heck is it going to drop to 2.5? You know that in a country like ours, when we get 2 to 3% growth, we are very happy. This is a big country. We don't grow very quickly. So when we get at 2.5, that's like nearly back to normal, okay? So don't make that bother you. This is the one like the shock. You went down, you're coming back up. All right, let's go ahead. Florida, the great Florida of where we are right now. Florida has 10 million people working, and in this case, the last data is 614,000 people unemployed. That's a lot of people not having a job. We don't like that because it impacts is too great. And I like to throw in the data, and these two things, this one is employment, this is unemployment, and they're mirror image of each other. Goes up, goes down, goes down, goes up. Except the number here is close to 10 million, and the unemployed right now is about 600,000. So you see that? This is just the data for Florida. The unemployment rate, notice this picture. Everything looked decent, normal, and then all of a sudden something crazy happened here. So when you're studying unemployment and you see this, you better come up with a reason that's unusual. Okay, unusual. Let's come to Great Tampa, St. Petersburg, Clearwater. You guys have about 1.5 million people living in that area. 80,000 of them are unemployed. Okay, 5%, 5.2% unemployed. So still a fair amount of people. Come in here and compare your numbers with the country. Take a look. The unemployment rate here for the United States over the two periods went from 3.4 to 6. So it's kind of like little, almost doubled. All right, and then look at your county. The Tampa area, almost doubled. Hernando County, same. Hillsborough County, probably the same. Pasco and Pinellas. So what is that saying about you guys and the West Coast? You behave almost like the national average in many respects. That's what I want you to get out of it. All right, this picture is one of the strangest pictures because it gives you all the careers and it tells you where you stand compared to the country. And all the ones with asterisks are statistically different in terms of employment and in terms of salaries. So you can't go through all of them. So you run your eyes down and you find anything that's rather unusual. And ministry support, you have 3% more. And the last two are the ones that deserve some attention. Production, United States, 6% of the population, you only have 4. And then transport and moving, they have it almost 9 and you have 7. So those are not our big industries here. Now, the one with the salary should draw even more attention from you. You want to know how you're doing with money. All right, so overall, $25.72. Tampa is a few, see, 7% less. Now, I notice all of these have smaller negative numbers, except for one crazy one, way down at the bottom. For fisheries, and farming, fisheries, and fishing. The national average is $15.07, and you are $25.31, and that's 68% higher than the national. I think any one of you can guess what it is. I think it's fishing tours, isn't it? Fishing tours. When you take a group out for $1,000 or $2,000, that's a lot of money. And I like Tampa for that reason. When I go over there, I love the coming back and looking at that Skyway Bridge and all that cool stuff. You guys got something good going on there. Same story. Your pictures look just like the rest of the country. Now, the forecast for the world, you know, we make forecasts. And I purposely left this here because I already gave you the world forecast. But I want you to see what happened to China. China got hit first. See here? And then it rebound, and then it's following its forecast. But it's growing faster than we are. These are indices. Look at the advanced economies, the blue line. They got hit after, and then they're growing. But notice they're growing slowly. And then look at the developing countries. They got hit too, and they're going to rebound. But notice they're not going to come back very fast. They're going to come back slowly. And that has been proven from the pandemic of 100 years ago. We found that recovery is a little bit slower. All right, good old United States, all good things, positives. Is that correct? Don't forget, positive confidence. Why do you think we like CEO confidence? They allocate billions of dollars, isn't that correct? So if they allocate billions of dollars, they are confident. What will they be doing? Investing. And so all of you out there in business listening to me today, if the CEOs are confident, they're going to put more money into investments and building stock and so on. And if consumers are confident, what will they be doing? More shopping. And if they do more shopping, economy grows. Doesn't that make sense? All right. So Florida has similar growth as the United States. You guys, Tampa, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, no crazy things going to happen. You're going to grow back normally. And so I'm going to change, take a deep breath. So that's the world. In a nutshell, what's going on in the world? We see an improvement. The only thing that can change that is what? COVID goes down again. When I mean down, I mean gets bad. Then that will change these forecasts. But so far, we look like we're having a good handle on it. Workforce forecasting is a really important topic. And this picture says it all. This is the population of the United States by tier. And I like this picture because on average it's symmetric. But over here, look at this group here. These are the guys. Yeah, these are the guys. You have a few more guys down here on average than females. But when you get older, who's running the show? The females. The little edge over here is the surplus. So you guys, sorry, if you get old, don't worry about it. The females will get all the money anyway. All right. As you get older, look, you will be gone and they'll be around. Sorry, I'm being silly. But the point of this story here is that older people will be around longer and they will be part of the workforce. Keep that in mind. So you got to get used to having more older people in the workforce. There's absolutely no doubt about it, especially how our population is only growing less than 1% net from birth rate to death rate. We will keep the old people in the workplace. Older people. All right. Look at the jobs that are trending. I mean, nobody think about wind turbine, but nurse practitioner. You know, there are two ways to look at this picture. Look at the jobs. They are very scientific, notice, and medical and scientific. But when you think money, run your eyes over here. The green bars show where the thousands will increase. Now, this one is not a lot of money, but this is home health care, home health and personal care, and that should not surprise you. Population is aging. They need somebody at home to take them shopping and take them to the doctor. Those jobs don't pay a lot, but they're plentiful. See here, the median income is only $25,000. But let's look at some big money. Nursing, nurse practitioner. It's going to grow $110,000, and you're making a six-figure salary. So I think a lot of people would like to look at that and say, hey, I'm going to get into nursing. Statisticians. Not all of us have a math brain. But if you have a math brain, boy, you should be a statistician. Actuarial sciences pay really well. Run on down, medical services. There are a lot of healthcare places. You guys need to never forget that. They will have jobs. And wait, 112,000 down here at the median. Physician assistant. Now, it's not that many people, but there's some potential. And information security. I don't want you to ever forget about information security. That is a powerful job potential because of all the fraud and so on. All right, so keep that in mind. See here, these are the kinds of jobs that will be available. Here's healthcare, I just said it. Mining, production, and look at all of them. But look at some that will be losing. This is the one you should focus on too. Retail jobs, not growing too fast. Manufacturing, slowing down. Federal government, a small adjustment downward. And then utilities. They're not going to hire too many people. So keep in mind, will hospitality come back? The answer is, of course, it'll come back. The question is, will it? It gets knocked very quickly. This is the picture with the older folks, 55 or older. Look at the green slice. Over time, up to 2029, what do you notice about the green slice? 25% of the population, 1 out of 4, will be 55 or older working. I'm one of those, so I don't plan to stop anytime soon. All right. The young people, notice a little bit down, but this is the biggest impact. So keep that in mind. And this is the forecast. We need 162 million. We need 168. If we Americans not going to have the children, we have to use the what? The older Americans. Or the next one, which is so sensitive, is immigration. And immigration will help to bridge the gap some. So keep that in mind. And notice what happens when you have recession. We expect it to go down and marginal people will be sent home. Healthcare keeps coming up. See that here, community service and so on. So there's an expected growth over time, but some careers will grow more than others. These are the losses that we've seen. Hotels, you guys familiar with this? Air transport, forget it. Some food and services like restaurants, non-farm, all down. But then grocery stores, you got to eat. So they make money. All right. They make money. Okay. So I took an example from Bank of America. Bank of America recognizes that older Americans are there. And so they put in an older American policy. And they have all kinds of things going on to accommodate older Americans in their corporation. So keep that in mind. And they have some nice examples that I want to share with you. I like this story. They had a portal built specifically with information for senior employees. They have a phased retirement because not because you're old, you want to work forever. They want to get you in and then work with you and then get you out whenever the time is right. All right. Training program. You need to have a continuous training program. And this one is very important. It's not only training the seniors, but training the young people to be patient and to understand that you could get synergy from the two groups of people. You all know synergy, right? 1 + 1 can be more than 2. I like that. Multi-generational team, importance of inclusion. And I'm not kidding. Age inclusion is powerful. They might be old and a little shaky, but boy, their brain are very, very active. Many of these seniors, you talk to your grandmother. She's amazing, some of them. All right. Now, go to the next one. Unconscious bias is something that we all have. We have certain biases from the upbringing, and we have to we have to be conscious of it. That's how to manage and how to deal with it. So you got to get training on that. 9 years ago, they had InGen, this employee network, intergenerational network, and they have all kinds of things of mentoring and working together and try to figure out how to help seniors on the job. All right. Before I end up with seniors, we got one concern with seniors. After you've been at a company for 30 years, there's a certain thing that happens to you. It's called entitlement. Does that make sense? I could retire now. Don't mess with me. Don't fire me. I don't have to work as hard. So you are this young CEO. You have to deal with that, correct? All right. I've seen this in academia. I've seen this in corporations, and you will have to now deal with it. I mean, of course, they can't just sit around and do 2 hours work for 8 hours pay. You got to find a way to get them involved. All right. So my conclusions are very straightforward. Our economy will come back if we get the vaccines up and running globally. Don't ever think it's only the United States. I know we're taking care of us and we're doing a heck of a good job so far, but you have to remember the foreign people have to also get well so that we could trade and make more money together. All right, so we all do these kinds of forecasts. July, which is only 3 or 4 months from now, I see a little improvement, and that stimulus will help. That 1.9 trillion will help. By December, we will be coming along. And the assumption again is that the vaccines in arms will be improving globally. Then the next year, we projected 2.5%, correct? So that's almost normal. And then when you go to 23 to 25, we should be back to the standard before 2019. There will be some adjustments, but generally you'll get your 2 and 3% in the United States. But I hope you see what I wrote on the bottom there. We need to manage the COVID locally, nationally, and globally. And only if we do that well, these forecasts will be fairly decent. And that's the way economists are able to cover themselves. If this happens, then this happens. So if you don't learn anything about economics, you remember that. If we have this, then this is reasonably good conclusion. All right, aging population, folks. Please get used to the idea that seniors will be around and you have to learn how to manage them. All right. It's kind of hard to manage somebody twice your age. Isn't that correct? I've done it and I know. You have to also be respectful, but you also have to have the goals of the company in mind. More immigrants. You know, we've been a country of immigrants, and I can see immigrants coming. I would say the quality of immigrants is probably the concern and the sensitivity right now, but immigrants will be here. Healthcare jobs, they're here. Science-oriented jobs, you have an edge. Accommodation and food servicing presently declining, but they will go up. I'm not kidding. If the economy gets good, COVID gets good, those industries will come back. Retail is declining, but they'll come back. So the last statement I have there is corporations must adjust to the changing demographics. You cannot do business like you did 30, 40 years ago. It's not going to work. You got to adjust. And there's no harm in hiring a senior. There's no harm in hiring young people. Learn how to manage them. Now, as you can see, I do this almost like playing that guitar. I just kind of breeze through it like a story I'm telling you. And I want to leave with you that I believe growth is coming back. That's why I put that. Everything means something in my PowerPoint, because I didn't just make this 20 minutes before I presented. It took me days to get this organized and thinking about it and what I want to tell you. And so that's kind of where I'm at with it. And I'm going to stop sharing, and then you can now tell me or ask me anything. I see we have one question. We have a bunch of things going on. So the floor is wide open. You guys ask me.
Dr. Williams, thank you so much. It was super informative. And yeah, we have a lot of questions coming in. So I'll just start feeding some of them to you to make it easy so you don't have to look through the chat. One of the first questions we got as you were going through sort of the rebounding or recovery conversation in your presentation is, we know we heard early on this debating amongst economists on whether or not we'd see a V versus an L versus a K-shaped recovery. How are you seeing the US recovery at this point based on some of those predictions early on?
The most politically correct answer is the K, because some will go up and some will be going slower. But down the road, they will all be going back up. So then you'll get back to the U or the U. I don't think we have a V. V is not in the picture. V means right away. All right. So does that make sense to all of you? That the K means that just like my hand, you got the K. Some industries will go up a little quicker than others, and then some will kind of stagger along, but they will come up. For example, which one will grow quickly? Anything where you remember it's demand driven. So anything where the COVID is relaxing and people start coming in, they will grow quickly. Now, you know that the distribution industry like Amazon, I mean, we don't even want to bring up Amazon. Amazon, you just blew the curve out because of the change from face-to-face shopping to online. But industries, by the way, I hope you understand there's some that really did well, like Home Depot and Lowe's. Do you know that they made tons of money because the guys and the girls at home bored to death? Oh, let me fix that little this. Let me fix that. Let me fix that. Then the bicycle stores, they made serious money. You can't even get a bike right now of quality. Any bike store, you got 6 months wait before you get a bike. Everybody wants to ride. Okay, so those industries that will spring back are based on demand will be the airlines and the hotels and the cruise. They will come back. But they will come back based on the confidence of people. So they will come back quickly. They don't take a lot because the infrastructure is there. And manufacturing comes along too, but they take a little longer to get the big engines going and so on. So yes, so it'll be a K. I'll stop with that. It'll be a K.
Great, thank you. That's very helpful. Along those same lines, you mentioned some of the industries that you anticipate and are already seeing bouncing back faster than others. Some have prospered, and then other industries really have a long road ahead to recovery. What would you say the economic impact on the workforce is when you have so much disparity between certain industries? How do you see that impacting the overall economy and the overall workforce?
You know, whenever you're at home unemployed and you are looking for a job, you have mobility going on. So some people will be thinking that, you know what, I'm a technical guy. I don't have to work in the cruise industry. I could take that skill set and work in another industry. And if it's something nearer to home, you might say, to heck with the cruise industry. I'll stay home and make my money. I might make a little less. So you will see some job mobility going on. There's no doubt about that. If you're a cook and you still have to wait 6 months to a year to get in a fancy restaurant, you might try something else. And so I think that there's nothing wrong with people moving. It takes a little preparation, but I think it's in our psyche. I mean, somebody like me, I had 5 professional jobs in my career and even more. And something about being the ability to adapt and to survive, I call it economic Darwinism. You will do what it takes. So I would not be surprised if some people move on with extra training and move on to some other careers. It's healthy, actually.
Sure. Yeah, you know, one of the things we talk about a lot, Dr. Williams, in this committee and with our events that we have is upskilling and or reskilling, right? As you're identifying opportunities to maybe go back and get certain degrees or going through certification programs. What, if any, trends or patterns are you noticing, and how COVID might have catapulted that in different industries where you're seeing people maybe transition using some of the skills that they have, but maybe going back and getting advanced degrees or certifications, and how that might positively impact our local area here in Tampa or even the state of Florida?
You know, the idea of upskilling and all, and this retooling is so healthy. It's so important that we do it. Now, one of the things that strategically we're trying to do is to offer little 2-course or 3-course units that you could get your skill set up. You don't have to get an MBA for $40,000 or $50,000. You could say, I want to brush up on my skills in marketing. And so you might have passion in marketing and you never explored it. So you have a bachelor's degree, you might take 3 courses in marketing, including digital marketing. And boy, you get pretty decent with the skills required. So I think that with this world order, people may decide to, you know what, I'm going to take little units of studies. And universities, we are already building a lot of those in the business school, because we believe that people may not want to go back and get a full degree again, or you got to be able, there'll be some wanting that, but there's also some, and we've seen it across the country because I've studied some other universities where I was doing a project. And many of them have, you get a minor, it's equivalent to a minor, but they don't even want to call it a minor. They just call it a set of courses, a little group of courses, and we'll give you a certificate for it. But we take 3 courses, it might cost you $5,000 or $10,000, and you are not qualified. So I endorse it. I believe it's going to come in, and I believe more people will want to do that to make the transition. So I endorse it a lot, and it's happening already.
Great. We had another question specific to Florida. Florida, in a lot of respects, opened things sooner than the rest of the country, as many of us know. Do you believe it had an impact on the economic growth of our state compared to the rest of the country?
There is no doubt that if you open earlier and business is coming along, even if it's slowly, something is happening. And as you could see, Disney did open, right? But under certain guidelines. And so we are encouraging, you have to do it intelligently and very responsibly. And so I think now with the vaccine, that recommendation is even more in order. But yeah, we are kind of a little bit of a cowboy kind of a state. We do whatever we want when we want. And to some degree it works. And I think the only time it probably didn't work as well is probably the restaurant business, because that's still not there yet. It's probably opening up a little bit, but we are far from 100%. So you're right. We have started a little bit ahead, and I would encourage people to, those people on here listening, I would encourage them to start thinking about, can I expand my investments now in terms of getting ready for the next year? Don't wait until everything is going. You're too late then. When it comes to investing, you need to start putting in some money and start to expand and get your restaurants ready and get your everything in order and keep kind of like following the flow. All right, that's cool.
Thank you. Yeah. We have a question about the housing market, specifically in the Tampa area, and maybe at a larger scale in the state of Florida. Obviously, home prices and sales are way up in our area and really in the state of Florida in general. Do you predict or see or have any thoughts on a potential bubble bursting like we saw in 2008? What are your predictions or thoughts on the housing market?
It's kind of funny. We're barely over the pandemic and then we're talking about a housing bubble, but it's legitimate. It's a very big concern. I'm hoping that the financial institutions and that people are going to be a little more cautious. 10 years, I don't think we're going to do very liberal lending. And I think the bankers are a little more careful because they've got burnt in that period. And so what I think is happening is, and this is an unintended consequence, and I got this from my son out of Tampa. He's a senior banker. He said, you know what? People are working at home. And if they're working at home, they want more conveniences. And so they've never had a real good office. So they have a 3-2, they might want a 4-2.5. And so the one room for the office. And so some people are actually shopping upward, trying to get a house. And another thing he said that's happening in the Tampa area, I don't know if you guys will recognize this, but you cannot get a pool built. Everybody know because they're at home, they want a pool. And so the demand for pool, you have 6 months to a year waiting list for a pool. This has never happened before. Nobody goes crazy building pools, but if you're working at home, then you want some conveniences at home. So you want an office, you want a pool. And so some people are moving upward or some people are building some conveniences in the house. So will there be a bubble? I don't see it in the cards yet. If the economy comes back into a year to two and we go crazy, maybe then. But right now, I don't think we're in the bubble business. The demand is increasing, but I don't think we're in a bubble kind of thinking yet.
Okay, great.
Good question, though. Good question.
Great question. And on those same lines, when you see this work from home, obviously it's been a very long trend work from home experience given the pandemic. What do you anticipate the post-pandemic work from home experience will look like? How will people return back? How will companies adapt? Will we all go back full force at some point? Or do you think that we'll really see a lot of adaptation from organizations and interest of employees because of what we've experienced over the last almost year and a half?
Aaron, the society globally and in the United States learned an amazing lesson that people can be more productive at home than at the workplace. And they never thought that hypothesis would be disproven. They could not believe that people can actually be more disciplined at home and work and get more done. So now the question is, will that be a permanent change in their strategy to manage? The answer is mixed. Some companies are waiting for the pandemic to be over to bring back their people in, and others again may have 2 days here, 3 days, some mixed thing. There's something about human behavior that we call reversion to the mean, reversion to what you're comfortable with. But the data has proven, and by the way, one of the reasons why I say that maybe some of us will want to go back, it is crazy, but you guys miss your colleagues. You want to see them, you want to hug them, you want to look in their eyes and talk to them, even if it's only 2 days a week. I have a faculty team of 60 people and they get so excited when they see us on Zoom. Imagine when they will see you face to face. I don't know what, So there is some of that interaction, the human interaction. But in terms of money saving, the corporations have saved a lot of money and they will not need to rent all these expensive offices and properties. They may cut scale down. That's a whole different unintended consequence. But I'll tell you, I heard Mr. Bill Gates on the tube this Sunday morning saying that he believes you'll have mixed results. Some will come, and some will want you to go back, and some will say, you know what, let's give this thing a chance, and let's have some people work from home. I think the essential strategic people have to go back. They need to be there making major decisions. But if you're only doing subsidiary things, they might be able to manage you.
Great. We've got a couple of questions around how the workforce and the employee population will need to adapt as we evolve into maybe that hybrid model, or not going back in the same exact manner that we did before. And another question that came in from one of our participants today was, how do we use the data that we're learning and what we need to develop in skills for the next generation in the workforce? So thinking of those 17 to 20 years old, moving into college, starting to graduate school and be kind of the next iteration or generation in the workforce, how do we help guide them along? What skills do they need to be prepared to have to be successful in the evolving workforce that we're in?
The evolving workforce has two sides. It's kind of like you have concentrations on the upper end, the seniors, and you have the young ones coming in. I call the young people, many of them, Zoom degrees. They have Zoom degrees because they are so educated by online. And the question, could turn it around, the same question is, are the Zoom degrees as good as the face-to-face degrees? And that's such a hard question to answer, because we do our best to educate them and to make sure they get all the principles and all the knowledge and the analysis and the critical thinking. But until they get out to work, then you will find out. So that question is, what do the young people, first of all, these young people are better at technology than any one of the seniors and the middle level people. They know that machine inside out. So from a technological point of view, they are super hot. Now, the soft skills might be somewhere they don't have that, because we are used to talking, looking in each other's eyes. They are texting each other and they get the job done, but they like texting and a lot of that. So how do you blend the old and the new? And I think some of us will have to also get used to the idea that you could get things done by texting and you could do things back and forth. So how do we blend the two together? There's learning on both sides. So the young people have to get their soft skills. By the way, we need to teach them how to communicate other than by texting. They have to be able to speak. They have to be able to come into the office when they need to resolve a problem. So it's important that they learn the soft skills along, and then we need to also learn. You have to understand them. They're a different generation, and I work with them every day. And this is the weirdest thing. They have certain ideas that you say, I didn't think like that when I was their age. They're different, but that doesn't mean that they're bad. They're just different. So we have to get used to that and get some synergy out of them. I like that word. All right.
Excellent. Yeah, we'll do one more question, Dr. Williams, as we wrap up. One of the topics that we're always paying attention to with our committee is diversity and inclusion and access for candidates. And one of the things I think you brought up that was really interesting and a lot of people commented on is keeping the inclusion in mind of the aging workforce population and how they'll continue to be a part of the workforce maybe longer than anticipated. What other trends or patterns do you think we should be paying attention to as it relates to continuing to evolve and enhance diversity and inclusion in the workforce, how that might have been impacted by the pandemic? We've talked in our committee recently about even just some of the technological access for certain individuals coming from different socioeconomic classes. So any trends or patterns that you think we should be paying attention to as it relates to diversity and inclusion as we look at the future of the workforce?
You know, I like that topic of the diversity and inclusion. Our university, one of its core values is diversity. And we have all the other academic one and diversity. Now, diversity is a big word. It is not only ethnicity, it is age, it is sexual preference. I mean, it's everything. Now, I must tell you that if you did not live in a diversity world, it is hard for you to get used to the idea that I'm going to be a diversity promoter. So you have to get some kind of what you call that unconscious bias cleaning or something to help you to get used to this. I thought about that question a lot, and so I want to give you what I think. in every society where there's a majority, there's this issue of diversity and inclusion. This is a phenomenon that's global, everywhere in the world. The challenge I have is I don't want you to go to one extreme. All right, you have a society where majority in certain, by the way, certain jobs have a certain group of people. When others get in there, they bring their own kind and then they change it around. So this is something that we have to be very careful about. So you always hear that unit, somebody will say, oh, that unit is diverse, but there are only Jamaicans in there. So they went from one group and then they changed it to another group. And my idea of diversity is to have a cross section of people of all walks of life, age, gender, ethnicity, working together. And that kind of thinking is a little bit more kind of like futuristic. It can happen, but it takes, like in my team at Nova, I'm part of the leadership team at the Huizenga College. You know, I am Indian, Caribbean, mixed up with all kinds of ideologies. I'm pretty cool. And then you have other people in there, and we all together approach the decision from all points of views, and then we come up with some solutions. So diversity and inclusions are very beautiful words, but you have to incorporate it at every level of the company, not only at the lower level, not only at the middle level, not only at this, you got to have it all along. And I'm not kidding. It is not easy to do. I don't want you to believe because you write a policy that you're going to have the diversity and inclusion that it'll just happen. It's a frame of mind. It's a thinking process. But here's the only answer I hope that is correct. And I think I'm right. Thank you. I saw somebody write a beautiful thing there. Diversity of thought is so true. But I think the important thing is that if you could make profits from it, it'll fly. Because we are a capitalist society, we're a market-driven society. If having diversity will give me more returns, I think most of us will indulge. That's a better way to look at it.
That's
right?
great. We really appreciate your thoughts on that. Cool indeed. You might be one of our coolest presenters we've had in quite some time, starting our meeting with an electric guitar jam sesh and continuing answering a lot of questions. Dr. Williams, thank you so much for your presentation this morning. We hope that those of you that had the opportunity to attend found it impactful. Following this event, you will be receiving an email from the Chamber requesting some feedback. This link will take you to a brief survey that helps our committee and the Chamber gauge the effectiveness of our programming. So please take a few minutes to complete it. We hope you'll join us. We have another event coming up on May 5th in this series where we will be discussing diversity, inclusion, and accessibility in the workforce. So that's a great tee up. We appreciate the continued support of Suncoast Credit Union and Hillsborough Community College as they invest in our program of work and make events like today possible. So Dr. Williams, thank you again. Thank you all for attending. We hope you have a wonderful day and a great week.